Hey gang, it's your pal Rob here, and welcome to the playground. In today's video, we'll take a look at part 2 of the creation of a piece called We Tried to Make It Back, But... If you missed part 1, you can find a link to it up here. Again, this is a proof of concept piece for a much larger one I'm currently painting, and it focuses on the idea of quantum entanglement. If you find this video interesting, please help the channel by liking it and subscribing. I appreciate you joining me today, and let's get to painting. Let's begin this segment by addressing the other areas of our planet homies. I want them to be consistent with each other, but differ in appearance from the first two sections I addressed in the previous video. I plan on taping a bit of extra space around them because I'll be using that sort of squeegee technique again, and having some wiggle room greatly helps. Let's jump ahead and get to the fun part, the actual painting. After all, it's about the future, isn't it? Our mask is hunky-dory, and it's time to set up the colors. This version of the planet will be mainly red and white, with a touch of other hues like burnt sienna, yellow, and blue. Being as careful as I can, I slide the paint into a curve to create the spherical shapes needed while trying to match the latitudes as well. Once that is done, I spray a bit of water in the painted areas, forming some new organic shapes within them. I add in a bit of additional color, then remove the mask. I'm now going to focus on adding some depth of color and value to certain sections of the piece. I carefully tape the lower left part of the canvas, then reach for my trusty liquid latex to seal off the edge of our planet. I continue by masking the triangle shape on the right, making sure that the edges will be as crisp as possible. Once our masks are ready, I spray a thin layer of water on the canvas to prepare it. Time to drop the paint and manipulate. I grab my dark violet and cadmium red and get to it. You'll see me dabbing a paper towel periodically. This not only absorbs excess paint, but I occasionally do this to create texture as well. I add a bit of red to the middle section and blow on it to gently move it around. I then reach for my titanium white and apply it around the piece, mostly focusing on the section in the lower left. I dropped a bit more violet in the middle, then reach for my cadmium yellow. When I want to apply the paint more accurately and aggressively, I use my fingers to flick it onto the canvas. This art stuff can be messy business. Let's give this guy a rest, then remove the mask and check our progress so far. We're really starting to develop some interesting depth of color in this piece, and there's quite a bit of movement going on. I think that our two pink planetary shapes are sort of melting into the background a bit too much, so let's try to give them some separation. It's time for some heavy masking, so let's go double time on this Billy Blank style and get to the good stuff. I'm reaching for that violet again, but I've added a bit more Mars Black and Burnt Umber to darken it. After that, I use some yellow and cadmium red around the top sections of the piece. At this point, I'm thinking that I want the lighter hues to spiral around the planet to some degree. I stick with these same colors and circle around to the other side of the painting. I rotate through them as I apply the layers, being patient with how the medium is interacting over time. Since the goal for this segment of the piece is to make the red planetary section stand out, I'm going heavy on the dark violet, trying to slowly build up its thickness. I give the piece some time to dry, and continue with adding darks and lights around the canvas, making sure that I don't focus on one particular area for too long. As soon as I'm satisfied with how I've layered the color, I let it dry fully and remove the mask. Let's take a peek to see our progress at this point. Yes, we're now seeing more separation between foreground and background, and the value range is improving as well, with more dark colors in the piece. Alrighty then, we're on the home stretch of this bad boy. I want to focus on adding some light values to push the contrast, so I mask off a couple sections and bring in some old jean rags for the assist. This will help me to be more aggressive, as I don't have to worry about paint getting into unwanted areas. I grab my titanium white and cadmium yellow and drop them in, giving a few breaths here and there to create that spatial flourish. I use the cup in the upper left to produce a soft circular shape in the background. It's subtle, but I enjoy little details like that. I then mask off corners of the red planet shapes, as I want to add a bit more color to better define them. A splash of white here, and a touch of yellow there will create more detail in our planet pals. If a bit creeps into the background areas, it's no big deal, as I can clean that up. If the paint isn't moving well, I use my water spray bottle to lubricate it. Let it dry, remove the mask. I now want some more green in the center of this piece, so I tape off that section and get my paint ready. I layer it slowly, trying not to dilute it with too much water on the canvas. A paper towel helps me out with this. I then grab my yellow and white, working from inside to out. More drying time and mask removal. This piece is just about done, but I'd first like to layer a bit more color in a few areas. I reach for some primary red and violet, then drop them in. I alternate between the two hues and occasionally move the paint around by blowing on it. I drop in a bit of cadmium yellow and red for good measure. After removing the tape, I clean up around the area. The middle section needs a bit more work as well, so I mix some fluorescent and light green together. After crudely masking that corner, I add in the green. On top of this, I want to have some highlights, so I use some white and yellow that are thicker in viscosity to achieve this. After taking off the tape, I wipe up some excess. Using a toothbrush, I spatter some more white droplets in that section and coax it to move with the butt end of the brush. To finish the piece, I want to add a few more highlight twinkles in the upper left and lower right areas. After completing some tape work, I grab my yellow and white once more. Using a toothbrush as my weapon, I apply the yellow first, using deep exhales to really push the medium around. A few more drops, and I remove the tape. To bring this piece to a close, I grab the white and sign the bottom right corner. This piece needs just a few more white sparkles. Here's the final result, and what a beauty. It's interesting how some harsh sectional lines seem to melt away, while others remain obvious and sharp. There's also some rotational symmetry, which I was hoping to accomplish. What are your thoughts? Please let me know in the comments. Well, that's all for now. If you missed part 1, I encourage you to take a look. You can also find Rob's Mental Playground on the social medias, and visitors are always welcome to view my online shop. Thank you so much for hanging on the playground with me today, and please, be kind to each other.